Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Supervisor Stewart.
Present.
Supervisor Brophy McGee. Here. Supervisor Lesko. Here. Supervisor Gallardo will join us shortly. Chairman Galvin.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Vice Chair Brophy McGee, please introduce your guest that will lead us in the prayer and the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to invite Donna Keffer to the podium to lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Everyone, please rise.
Let us pray. Most holy and righteous Father, I lift up our supervisors today, asking for your blessings upon them. I pray for their health and well-being, both physically and mentally. Please grant them strength and resilience as they navigate the challenges of their roles. Protect them from illness and fatigue and renew their spirits daily. Lord, I also pray for their families. Bless their loved ones with health, happiness, and a strong sense of connection. May they find comfort and support in each other, and may their homes be places of peace and refuge. Strengthen the bonds between them and protect them from any harm. I ask, Lord, for your guidance in their work. Grant them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions that impact so many. Help them to lead with integrity, compassion, and justice. May their work be fulfilling and meaningful, and may it contribute to the betterment of our community and the world. I pray they have clear understanding of your purpose in life. Reveal your plans for them and empower them to walk the path you have set before them. May their use of their gifts and talents to serve others and to make a positive difference in the world. Surround them with counsel and open their hearts to guidance. Thank you, Father, for hearing my prayer. I ask all these things in my Savior Jesus' holy name. Amen. Join me in prayer pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful prayer and for leading us in the pledge. And Madam Vice Chair, do you have any comments on our guest?
I certainly do, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. One of the greatest blessings of my 26-plus years of public service, including 10 years at the Arizona legislature, has been the opportunity to meet amazing people like Donna Keffer. She brings a light to what can sometimes be a very dark place. And she would come into my office and leave some angels behind. She is an Arizona native who has served the Arizona State Legislature and their staff for 27 years. As chaplain, she often offers the prayer when members assemble for floor session. She provides spiritual encouragement, pastoral counseling as needed, and acts as a liaison within the faith community. Chaplain Donna is an author of 2 books, Women of Courage and Women of Faith, as well as writing a monthly article for TriVita Wellness Corporation's Vita Journal magazine for 4 years. She is a screenwriter, producer, and actor who has been very involved in the Arizona film community. Donna has been married to her husband, Ross, a retired Peoria firefighter, for 37 years. They have 1 adult daughter, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're now going to move on to agenda item number 4, the pet showcase from our Animal Care and Control Department.
It's at a time like this where I wish that there was a floor camera so you could see how cute she is. To put it, to say the least, the Tarragon is the light of my life and the sun to my stars. She is a 2-year-old brindle pit bull terrier mix, some kind of bully breed, and she is the most charming dog ever. It's hard to believe that she's at the shelter, honestly. She's so sweet, so friendly. The walk here was like twice as long because she kept trying to stop by everyone so she could get pets from them. It was like a tour for her. And the best part is that we just started our Empty the Shelters event, so all dogs have their adoption fees waived 6 months and older. And she, being 2 years old, has her adoption fee waived. So clearly she's all over someone right now. So she's trying to charm her way out of the shelter as we speak. So if you are interested, please come adopt her at the West Shelter. You will not regret it.
I think you can just leave her with him right now.
Yeah, I'll probably just leave her here.
I think we just witnessed an adoption in real time. Thank you, May. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you to everyone who works in our Animal Care and Control Department. On behalf of the entire board, we're grateful for all of you. Madam Clerk, are there any announcements or corrections to the agenda?
Chairman, I have none.
Okay. I'd like to take this moment to ask if any of the supervisors would like to remove any items from consent. And then if there are any other items in consent, Madam Vice Chair, I'll see if we'll entertain a motion for all the other items on consent. Are there any items that a supervisor would wish to remove from consent?
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Stewart.
can I get a briefing on item number 23, please? Just a quick update from staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then any others, sir?
I've got 49, 51, and then 52 through 45, and 41, excuse me. Let me
Can
say
we do that again? Sorry.
41, 51, and 52 through 55, which is the same subject.
Okay, so I have 23, 41, 51, 52 through 55.
Yes.
Okay, I will now entertain a motion for our consent items, which begins with number, where are we? 14? Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of consent agenda with the exceptions of item number 23, 41, 51, and 52 through 55.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No? Okay, the consent agenda has passed. Thank you very much, Supervisor Stewart and Madam Vice Chair. We're now going to go back to regular agenda item number 5. Who is up for that? This is Sun Basin 3, District 5. Oh, that's also our consent agenda. It's our consent agenda for planning and zoning. Do we have any motions for items 5 through 8?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Madam Vice Chair.
I move approval of the planning and zoning consent agenda items 5 through 8 in accordance with the commission recommendations as listed or shown on the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, perfect. My apologies for the confusion there. We're now moving right along.
Vote.
Okay, we're now up to, oh, sorry, we need to take a vote. Thank you. So all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The motion passes. Thank you so much. My apologies. Okay. We now move to, waiting for the video board to take us up. Statutory hearings, item number 9. Okay. Clerk of the Board, new liquor license for Buckeye Ranch RV Resort. Transportation items 10 through 13, patent easement abandonments as listed on the agenda. Do we have a motion for these items?
Mr. Chairman, I move items 9 through 13 for approval.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we did items 14 through 67, which I believe now takes us to item number 23, Madam Clerk.
That is
Okay,
correct, Chairman.
Supervisor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted a quick briefing on what this is about and how this affects the community. If we could just, a couple minutes, a little more background on this, we appreciate it. Thank you for the public.
Mr. Chairman, I do not see anyone from the assessor's office here unless, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Stewart, we're going to skip 23 for now, if that's okay, and we're going to wait for someone to come here
Thank you.
to answer your questions. So let's move on to number 41, Supervisor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. Can we have a little bit of background on this grants from the Arizona Homeland Security and how this helps with our energy preparedness? Just a little briefing for the public.
County Manager, is anyone here who can assist us with that?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I will ask Blanca Caballero to approach. She is the Assistant County Manager, and Emergency Management is under her purview.
Okay, thank you. And once again, I ask everyone who speaks to the board to please identify themselves.
Yes, good morning. My name is Blanca Caballero. I'm the Assistant County Manager. And as Jen mentioned, emergency management is one of my departments. I also have Mitch Latch, who is here, who's the Interim Director for Emergency Management. So item 41 is for grant funding from the Arizona State Department of Homeland Security. It's to renew a software subscription that is used for continuity of operations planning, and it provides the software for all of the jurisdictions in Maricopa County to create a lot of these plans that they need in the event of an emergency. Did you have a specific question, Supervisor, about this software?
No, not specifically, but is this what they use in order to make sure that they can all communicate with one another in real time in order to do the emergency planning, and then it creates the sort of connection between all the different groups?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Stewart, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mitch, who can give those details.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I'm Mitch Latch. I'm the Interim Director for Maricopa County Department of Emergency Management. Supervisor Galvin, or Chairman Galvin, Supervisor Stewart. The short answer is yes. It allows all the different jurisdictions to sort of coordinate their continuity of operations plans by putting it into this centralized system. It really is about trying to link those systems so that if there is an impact across a different set of jurisdictions, we have an understanding of how they intend to respond, what their critical functions are, how long they can be down, and those kinds of things. So it puts all of that information related to continuity of government and continuity of operations in a single place, so the jurisdiction can access it and the county can understand what their needs might be should it escalate beyond their capability to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, just real quickly, I can tell you, I've been on school boards for many, many years, and this is something that is a regular occurrence. Just about every school district comes up with emergency operation plans in case of something tragic happening on the actual school grounds. It does allow them to interact really not only with each other, but also allows local law enforcement, emergency operations to also understand what the plans are as well. I can tell you it wasn't very long ago, we had a situation right here, downtown Phoenix, Central High School, where a gentleman brought an automatic weapon to campus, and a lot of the social media threats right away, they shut down the school, locked down the school, and I can tell you emergency operations were in effect. Police were there like in seconds. I mean, they knew what to do, they knew where to go. Fire came in as well. It's no different, the fire plans in a building. Fire department knows where the exits are. They know where the outlets are in every one of our buildings in downtown Phoenix, and that's exactly what this type of plan does. And it's a grant that's available just about for any school district. I don't even think I look now, there's quite a few that are just urban, but you got some rural districts as well, but just about any school district is eligible to participate in this IGA federal program to help them cover the cost.
Okay, thank you. And Supervisor Stewart, thank you for highlighting this. Blanca, Mitch, thank you so much. I don't think we have any more questions or comments. Okay, so number 41, grant funds from Arizona State Department of Homeland Security for emergency plan software. We will now hear any motions on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of agenda item number 41.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of item number 41 say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 51, 240056/CMR Maricopa County Elections Facility Phase 2 GMP1 contract. Supervisor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. This is an exciting time. I understand that we're pretty stretched on capacity with this particular building, and this is going to move us into a larger building, which I think will help with security as well as tabulation and things like that. I think I'm just kind of trying to get up to speed on Phase 1. We're now in Phase 2. If I could just get a real quick briefing on how we're tracking with this build and a little bit more information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. County Manager, any comments or anyone you want to bring up?
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask Assistant County Manager Zach Shira, and also who oversees the Elections Department, and also CJ, he's our Director of Facilities.
Terrific. Thank you all. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Stewart. For any specific questions on sort of square footage, where we're at in the process, I'll defer to CJ. But yes, we've undertaken the Elections Department in partnership with FMD and the board, a process for nearly 4 years now of discussing what the future of an elections facility looks like in Maricopa County. We have gone through the gambit of options, whether that was purchasing a facility outside the downtown core, renting a facility, whether it's outside or inside the downtown core, and we ultimately settled about 1.5 years ago on building on county-owned space just on 8th Avenue in Jefferson, just outside on the edge of our campus here. So we're thrilled to be moving into a new building. We are set to run the 2028 presidential election in that facility. CJ promised me that, so we can hold him to it. We're supposed to get the keys in August of 2027, but it'll nearly, maybe even more than double the space and capacity that we currently have in our McTech facility. As you know, and the previous board was briefed, a lot of the operational constraints, a lot of the initiatives that we undertook to increase the speed, increase the efficiency of our operation was just physically constrained by the square footage and the outlay of a building that was never intended to be an elections facility. So I can hand it over to CJ for where we're at currently in the process, but we're very excited for this.
Good morning, CJ Jones. I'm the Director of Facilities Management here at Maricopa County. Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Stewart, I think your question was specifically where we're at in the process and kind of clarifying the phase referenced in the contract here. So we've already engaged an architect, and they're about 50% through the design of the facility. The phase 2 that's referenced here is a specific to the contract type that we're using. So the phase 1 was actually pre-construction services, where we engaged a construction manager at risk through the a qualification-based process. They come on board and they help us with costing the project, constructability reviews, and various what we call pre-construction services to get us to the point where we can get a final GMP, which is where we are now, which is referred to as a phase 2 GMP 1, and there will be subsequent GMPs to follow this one.
Thank you for that update. You know, I think obviously we've talked about elections in this county for a while, and anything we can do to modernize the process and create more space as well as more security and create a state-of-the-art facility like this, I think is important to the community and important to the public. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Lesko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since I became a Maricopa County Supervisor, I have realized and have been impressed about how well fiscally prudent, I should say, Maricopa County is. I mean, we're the 4th largest county in the entire nation, and from what I've been told, we don't have debt. And so that leads to my question, how are we paying for this building?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lesko, I will also ask our CFO, Mike McGee, to come up. He can provide you with the very specific details.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Supervisor Lesko, to answer your question, we have, to introduce myself, I'm the CFO, sorry. To answer your question, we go out for, we issue bonds, tax-exempt bonds, about every 2 or 3 years. And we do that even though we have the money to pay for the construction projects. If we pay for it directly out of our general fund, it would go against the expenditure limitation, but debt is not subject to expenditure limitation. So we go out for bond issuances, but then we immediately repay them down within the next 2 years.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I am very impressed. I don't think the public realizes how big of a county we are, and that the previous Board of Supervisors throughout all of the years was very fiscally prudent. I think cut the budget by, 11%, kept the rates down. And I can tell you just from going from Congress, where we weren't fiscally prudent, and $36 trillion in debt, which is unsustainable. This is very refreshing. And so thank you for the information, and I yield back.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Pokorski.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and thank you, Supervisor Lesko, for pointing that out. We are, to our knowledge, the largest jurisdiction in the United States without general obligation debt. And as Mike pointed out, the only reason that we have to take out any debt is to stay within the expenditure limit. But we essentially, any money that we save every year goes into piggy bank, for lack of a better word. And that's how we build our capital projects, is through savings.
And Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Gardo.
Thank you. Just real briefly, couldn't agree more, Supervisor. You look how far we've come as a county. I mean, even before my time, we leased everywhere. And we were able to bring a lot of these departments into our own facility. What is it? I always refer to it as the 4th Avenue Jail. I shouldn't call it that. What is it? 227 or
225 West Madison.
225. Beautiful concept. Project housed the entire county attorney's office, brings everyone together. Was an excellent concept. I can't remember who had that idea, but kudos. But you even look at our elections. I mean, we leased a huge spot on 20th Street and University, and we're able to move that to the 3rd and Lincoln, and now even with how elections have involved. I mean, we've changed how we do elections here in the state through legislation, through federal acts, and it allows us now to be able to look, how do we move forward? How do we have the space, the security we need in order to conduct the election? And I think the project that we're going to have right here on 8th Avenue, I think is going to be something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Any more comments or questions? No? Okay. We'll now entertain a motion for item number 51.
Mr. Chairman, move approval of item number 51 as listed on the agenda.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? We have a second from Supervisor Stewart. Okay. All those in favor of item number 51 say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving on, item under Public Health, item number 52, amendment with Arizona Department of Health Services for Ryan White, Part B HIV Care Services. Supervisor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just like a quick briefing on this, how the project's going, or the program is working, and just give us a little overview of the financials of this, and I'd appreciate that from
County Manager Pecorski.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Stewart, I'd ask Marcy Flanagan to come up here to help answer any questions. Marcy is the Assistant County Manager, and Public Health reports up through her. And items, I think, 52 through 55 are related, so I would ask Marcy to remain up here.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Stewart.
Thank you, Marcy. If you could just give me a brief rundown of this program, the financials of it. You can talk about all three of them at the same time. I think they're all kind of lumped together, just how the program works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marcy Flanagan. I'm the Assistant County Manager for Health and Legal Services. And items 52 through 55 are all related programs that address HIV and AIDS in Maricopa County. So this is federal funding dollars that come through the federal government to the state of Arizona and then are transferred to all the local public health departments in Arizona. And these services range from item 52 is for the Ryan White Part B program, and that is for $3 million. And this is the Ryan White program is a federal program that exists in all states. It is the payer of last resort for individuals that are low income and are at risk or have been diagnosed with HIV. It provides benefits such as transportation to medical appointments, help with medications, copay, those sorts of things. Unfortunately, hospice care in a lot of situations. That's item number 52. Items 53 through 55 are all related to our HIV program. Again, this is the same federal funding that comes from the federal government to the state of Arizona and down to local health departments. Unfortunately, Arizona does, Maricopa County in particular, have nationally high rates of HIV in our community, and we are the 14th highest in the nation of states with HIV HIV rates. And when you have high rates of HIV, it makes your community more susceptible to other STIs being transmitted in the community, things such as syphilis, which we also unfortunately have very high rates of syphilis in this community, which translates to congenital syphilis, which unfortunately leads to a lot of premature or infant deaths in our community. So what this funding does is it goes for prevention efforts to educate the community about how to prevent the spread of HIV and practicing safe sex, how to have open communication with your partners, where you can go to get tested for free, get the test results. And so that's what items 53 through 55 are providing.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Stewart?
Thank you for that briefing. So, in other words, this program's run from a federal program. Grants are then delivered from the federal government for us to keep this department running. Otherwise, we would have to use general fund dollars in order to keep that moving. So that supplements the budget in that way?
Chairman Galvin, Supervisor Stewart, yes, this is federal funding, grant dollars that come through the state to the county. If we didn't receive these funds, we'd either have to ask the board to support this efforts with general fund dollars, or we wouldn't be doing this work, which means our rates would be even higher in our community, and rates for all STIs would then increase. We'd have higher mortality rates related to very preventable HIV and syphilis, other diseases that spread easily in our community.
And what I read about this was it's a well-run program, and it's helping a lot of people. And frankly, without the grant, using general fund dollars, we would have to cut other areas within our budget in order to be able to continue to do this. So it's an important thing. So I appreciate that briefing, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was last in the legislature, we were looking at kind of a catastrophic increase of STDs and HIV in our younger populations. Do we have, it was trending totally in the wrong direction, either from unprotected sex or needles or whatever. Where are we standing on those trends now? Have we been able to arrest them and pull them back, or are we still in not good shape?
Chairman Galvin and Vice Chair Brophy-McGee, unfortunately, our rates of STIs are still increasing, and they're for the exact reasons that you pointed out: unprotected sex, dirty needles being shared. The last year is starting to show it leveling out, but unfortunately, it has not started decreasing yet, and so that's what even more reinforces how important programs like this are.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have one question. Do you know how many other counties in Arizona have a program like this or work through the federal government similar to what we do?
Chairman Galvin, all 15 public health departments in the state of Arizona have HIV prevention programs.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Okay, board will now consider items 52 through 55. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move approval of agenda items 52 through 55.
Second.
Madam Chair, thank you. We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. The Board of Supervisors will now go back to the regular agenda. Sheriff 68, IGA with the City of Tempe Detention Training Academy. Facilities Management 69, addition of new project, Office Space Optimization Project. Finance number 70, no objection letter for foreign trade zone. And 71, resolution for declaration of office intent to reimburse. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers for these items?
Chairman, yes, we do. We have 2 speakers that wish to speak on item number 69, and 1 speaker wishes to speak on item number 70.
Okay, can you please read out all 3 names? And I would ask all folks whose names have been read to please come down to the podium, and you're on deck, and then you're in the hole. So please read out all 3.
Chairman, first up is Leslie Shepard speaking on item number 69. Next, Lori Baroni, also on item number 69, followed by Lumar Garza on item number 70.
Okay, Ms. Shepard, good morning.
Good morning. Okay, 69 is a $2 million agenda item, and it's for a project called Space Optimization. The new administration that is taking over has been going through line by line for USAID, which most of us know, and they're I guess the new phrase is called common sense. Common sense is the new radical phrase in today's world. The $2 million of our tax dollars are for space optimizing. I would like to ask you if you have a breakdown to help us to understand how $2 million is going to make such an impact for optimizing space. And I'll tell you why I'm asking is because we have noticed that, and you guys probably know this, because you know across the street, you guys know from over there, there's a lot of people who actually work from home now. A lot. And I'm trying to understand $2 million. So my question is, there was Michelle who you deal with across the street. She's the person who has to, when people want to call in and use the webinar, because maybe there's different reasons, handicap reasons or limitations. And Michelle, she works from home. Perfect example. And so she's a person that we've tried to work through to get people to be able to use the webinar, and she's not even reachable because she's at home. I mean, she's reachable via phone, but you can't have a in-person conversation with her. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is there any way that you can provide us something that shows us how that money is being spent so there's accountability and transparency involved?
Ms. Shepard, thank you. I want to ask the county manager to provide that answer, and maybe if there's information that needs to be followed up and provided to Ms. Shepard in 10 seconds or so we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This space optimization study actually is addressing some of the concerns that Ms. Shepard just raised. It is to condense unused space in our buildings through creating hoteling space and other ways that people can share their workspace, so we don't have to lease additional space or build additional buildings. So it's actually, in the long run, will save tens of millions of dollars in taxpayer dollars. And I would ask Assistant County Manager Darcy Kober, who oversees our facilities department, to get with Ms. Shepard, and she can provide the specific contract.
Okay. Thank you.
And what does hoteling mean? Sorry.
That's okay. Good question. Ms. Pokorski.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Shepard, it's a term that we use that people, instead of having their own desk, share the same desk.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have another speaker on item number 69.
Lori Baroni.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so I just heard Ms. Pokorski say that that's actually $2 million for a study, or that's actually for the work being done, to be done and completed. That's two different things, in my opinion.
Ms. Pokorski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding, and Assistant County Manager Kober can correct me if I'm wrong, or Director CJ Jones, this is for the analysis to identify which areas should be condensed. And if we need additional information, we can have Director Jones come up here.
Ms. Lesko.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to have somebody come up and explain it more, since the public is interested, and I'm interested. Thank you.
Okay. CJ.
All right. Excuse me, Chairman Galvin, Supervisors. We've already completed a study. We did that over the last year and a half or so, where we went and studied the county's office portfolio, which was about 2 million gross square feet, to identify the areas that we could condense our space and better utilize our space throughout the county's office portfolio. So that is complete. That study yielded several recommendations, and this $2 million is the beginning of executing those recommendations. So this $2 million will fund the design effort that is required to start designing the spaces to start condensing the various offices and departments.
Thank you. Ms. Kober, anything to add?
I think he covered it.
Okay.
It would include the design of several different buildings that'll be condensed.
Okay. Supervisor Lesko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And do you have an estimate yet of how much money in the long run this is going to save?
Chairman Galvin, Supervisor Lesko, yeah, the study that our consultant performed identified capital avoidance in the range of $200 to $300 million.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, over the next 15 years.
Madam Vice Chair.
Asked and answered. Thank you, Supervisor Lesko.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item, I think was it number 70, we had a speaker?
Chairman, that is correct. Lamar Garza.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Garza.
Morning. I will remind you again, you all got your emails yesterday reminding you the the criminal actions that you are taking today. But for number 70, I would like to read on the summary. It says, Blue Polymer plans to build a plastic recycling facility in Buckeye, and it will be constructed with a variety of foreign materials. I'd like to know if you'll be violating any international laws by getting those foreign materials, perhaps from China. And once the construction site is completed, it will serve to process and purify household post-consumer plastics and convert them into a high-quality resin. Additionally, the Buckeye facility may serve as a main warehouse for 4 facilities nationwide for all spare parts. I would like to know. Please give me a detailed list of those spare parts. Are you near a solar facility? Because we've had some disasters in California where solar facilities were burning down. So I'd like to know that in this Blue Polymer plans, you're going to have an extensive amount of volatile resulting products. And I'd like to know also, because you said the status of taxing jurisdiction and concurrence letters from a bunch of different school districts, did you get that from the respective superintendents? So I'd like to know what is all this involvement with the school districts regarding this facility, and finally kind of highlight that the expected function of this facility will only be at the end of the 10 years of the contract, and you'll only create 60 direct jobs with an annual payroll of $4 million at the end of 10 years. So please read this contract. They can do nothing for 9 years and then do something at 10 years. So they're storing it just as a storage facility. I would encourage you to research this in more depth. Thank
County
you.
Manager Prikorsky, can you concisely address some of these questions that were raised?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask CFO Mike McGee to approach because he can better explain what a no objection letter is, and that is what is on the agenda for the board, is a no objection letter for the federal trade zone. Regarding some of the concerns related from a building standpoint, the city of Buckeye would oversee permitting of the construction for this building, so we would need to meet all applicable building codes and fire codes in that city.
And Mr. Chairman, to that point, and I guess this is for Mr. McGee, are we the last of the political subdivisions to vote on the no objections, and how many other political subdivisions have voted so far?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Supervisor Gallardo. So yes, we are the last jurisdiction that has a say on whether we have a no objection letter. We wait for all the other jurisdictions, the taxing districts that are where this land is located. And we make sure that all the schools, all the other taxing jurisdictions are approval, that they have no objections to this before it comes to us.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, since we're talking about it, because I think it's important so folks understand what this is. So it's not even just us, it's the school districts, it's community colleges, it's Valley-wise, it's every Buckeye, it's every political taxing subdivision that this facility will be located at.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Gallardo, yes, that is the case. And just to give a little bit more background on this and context, this is really not something that the board is approving as far as whether or not this qualifies as a FTZ zone or a forward trade zone. That's on the federal level. This is a no objection letter that you're approving that goes along with all the other no objection letters to the applicant for their application to the federal government.
Okay, thank you. Are we good? The board will now consider items 68 through 71. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 68 through 71.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I have noticed that our assessor, Eddie Cook, has come into the building, so we're going to go back to an item that was pulled from consent by Supervisor Stewart. Agenda item number 23, secured, unsecured tax roll corrections. Supervisor Stewart, any questions here or comments?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to get a briefing on this to kind of understand how this affects the public. I know it's kind of something we do every year. but I want to get a deeper understanding of that, if you wouldn't mind, Assessor Cook. And thank you for being here. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Supervisor Stewart. Is there a particular question you have? Because this typically is something that's normal in the process where we submit the tax roll, but during the year, there may be properties that go through appeals, or they go through the SBOE, or even there might be some settlements that happen between my office and with the plaintiffs, and then sometimes a court decision in tax court may occur. And when those events happen and they're completed, then we need to update the tax rolls, and then it's your body that has to approve of them once we submit those. So those may occur throughout the year based upon just the different activities that happen with the different property owners, because we have literally 1.9 million parcels, and we see about 2,000 to 3,000 appeals every year, and all those property owners go through that process. So there's a small number of them that have to, that last longer than normal, and then that's why you have this particular item on the agenda item.
Sure. Thank you for that briefing. I appreciate that. And I know your staff and your office does a phenomenal job with people that do want to reassess their homes, and then they appeal that. And sometimes their property tax rate goes down as a result of that. And so you guys have been very diligent in doing that. So I appreciate that update. And just for folks that wanted to know, this is the process from statute that we have to then approve as supervisors to approve the work that you've done, and our staff has reviewed that internally. So I just wanted to get a briefing on that so people understand what this is. So
sure.
Thank you
and
very much.
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Stewart, you all have my cell number.
Yes.
Anytime you want to chat about anything related to my office, you're more than welcome to come visit me at any time or call me, and love to provide any education.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chair.
Thank you. And Assessor Cook, thank you for coming down. We appreciate it.
All right.
And Supervisor Stewart, I want to thank you for the really good questions you asked, pulling these items from our consent agenda, and thank you for helping making the process go smoothly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Back to the Board of Supervisors' regular agenda, Public Health 72.
I'm sorry,
Oh, I'm
Chairman.
sorry. I am so sorry. I am just out of it today. Okay. Is there a motion for item number 23?
Mr. Chairman, move approval of item number 23.
Okay, is there a second? All right, the board will now vote in the favor of the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Number 23. Okay. Board of Supervisors regular agenda, Public Health, number 72, competition impractical contract with LexisNexis Company, Vital Check Network, Inc., 73 and 74, contracts with Delta Dental of Arizona, Area Agency on Aging, 75, agreement with Ottawa University, Real Estate, 76, agreement with Arizona Department of Economic Security. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers for items 72 through 76?
Chairman, yes, we do have two speakers, both on item number 74. Lumar Garza will be the first speaker, followed by Leslie Shepard.
Okay, Ms. Garza, please come up. Ms. Shepard, please get ready to come up too.
On item 74, you contract with the Area Agency on Aging to provide and administer voluntary vaccines to adults aged 60 and older. Now, this contract says it's from October 1st, 2024 to March 30th of 2025, which means you have committed the crime to now seek forgiveness, because there's only 1 month left on this contract, which tells me that you've already set up your 27 clinics. I'd like a list of where these 27 clinics were set up in the past 5 months, and I'd like the reports as to how successful it was, because you were administering 2,000 vaccinations. Would that be by the totality? That would be 270, if I'm not mistaken, for each location to encourage people to come in and do their vaccinations. So since the contract is over in a month, you clearly have been doing this for 5 months without approval. And I reiterate again, you all got your emails. Had any of you had any courage today, you would have done more than just nay. more than just yay for all these accounts. And on top of that, under the consent agenda, once you pull them, you should allow people to reassess if they wish to speak on those particular items that you pulled from the consent agenda. I'd like those questions answered regarding if you have already done it and where are the reports. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Shepherd to come up and then it's on the same topic, and then we'll answer the questions afterwards. County Manager Pekorski. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a few of the same questions. I do want to bring to your attention, though, that 3 people, Ray Michaels, Jeff Zink, and Jody Brackett, all came in by 9:30 because they have work. Would you like to allow them to turn in public comment slip since they're here hours before the public comment?
Ms. Shepherd, you're here to speak on item number 74.
So that's on record then that you're refusing to allow them?
I don't know what you're talking about, but you're here for
I just
item number
said
74.
they showed up by 9:30 and they
Okay,
would like to speak on a public comment, but it's at your discretion.
They have to follow the rules, okay?
The rules?
Do you have anything to say on item number
Okay.
74?
Okay, so I think you guys are aware that Dr. McCullough, Dr. Artis, Dr. Tenpenny, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the upcoming Health and Human Services person, has blown the whistle on the fact that many of these shots, unfortunately, that we're receiving today, they're seeing serious repercussions, not just people who are affected long-term, but have lost their life to a lot of these shots that are going on. Obviously, we have a terrible crisis that's going on with, low birth rates because a lot of stillbirth. But I'm wondering why we're focusing on the seniors to get these shots when we're finding out that actually that the more you get these shots, the more susceptible you are. At least that's what the professionals who are willing to lose their license over are saying. I'm not talking about the ones who are making money and they're finding out now through this USA aid that they actually were pocketing money by these shots. But my question is for you guys to be okaying this, is it 2,000 vaccines per site? Is it within a certain time frame? I mean, I'm looking at that it's 60 and older. What is the focus, and are you guys paying attention to what the professionals who are actually waving the red flag saying that there's danger here? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. County Manager Pekorski, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask Assistant County Manager Marcy Flanagan to answer those questions.
Chairman Galvin, members of the board, Marcy Flanagan, Assistant County Manager for Health and Legal Services. This particular contract with the Area on Aging Agency, this again is funding that we get through the state of Arizona. Unfortunately, the state has been delayed in a lot of their contracts that have been coming to the county lately, and so this is a long time relationship that we've had. We do offer voluntary vaccines to all ages in our community. This particular contract just focuses on adults age 60 and over. That's why it's with the Area on Aging. There are communicable diseases that are more susceptible the older you get. For example, pneumonia. The outcomes are more severe, and it's important that we target this population in particular for those sorts of vaccines. So there's an array of vaccines that are offered. The shingles vaccine, again, that's something that is only for older adults. You're only eligible to get that vaccine when you're 50 and over. So they target the older population for that. The pneumonia, RSV, we know that in infants and older adults, it's much more severe outcomes that happen with RSV. And so those are the type of vaccines that the Area on Aging is asking the Public Health Department to come out and offer vaccines in conjunction with them to the population that they serve. As far as the locations that these are, I can have staff put together a report. It is a total of 2,000 vaccines across the valley, and so this would be locations that are identified by the Area on Aging, so we would work with them. Their website, if you go to their website, it does list where you can go to receive services and vaccines, so that's that's available there, but I can certainly have staff put a report together and provide that to you.
Okay, so the first speaker asked for some specific information, so if there's someone that can coordinate with her to either get her contact information or to direct her to find that information. Supervisor Lesko has a question, and then I have a couple of quick questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And can you confirm that in this item, we are not mandating that any individual get a vaccine?
Chairman Galvin, Supervisor Lesko, I can absolutely confirm public health in any of our vaccines that are available in our community are never mandated. They are always voluntary, and this holds true to be the same for this contract as well.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd read that in the notes, but I wanted to make sure that the public heard that because I served on the subcommittee in the U.S. Congress. I served on the subcommittee that studied COVID, and a number of the people that Ms. Shepard, I think, referenced, we heard testimony from. I've always been against mandating vaccines, but I do think we live in America, and people should have a choice. If they want a vaccine, they can get a vaccine, but I don't want to mandate it. And so with that, I yield back.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the timing of this, you said that we have dealt with delays from the state. What specific state agency has been delayed in getting this information over to you in your office?
Chairman Galvin, we have experienced delays in the Arizona Department of Health Services. I know that our Director of Public Health, Janine Fowler, is meeting with the Director at Arizona Department of Health Services to talk about these delays and how they affect the services that we provide and hinder those services, and that we do not like to come to the board with these retroactive kind of contracts, and they are actively addressing that.
Okay.
But it's the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Okay, thank you. And I suggest to anyone who's listening that if you have concerns about the timing of these contracts, to A, contact the governor's office, B, contact DHS, and C, contact your state legislator to prompt DHS to do this much more quickly. And then secondly, because the contract is due to run out March 30th, do you anticipate a new contract to begin starting on April 1? And are you already seeing or experiencing delays in that regard, if so?
Supervisor Galvin, I would expect that the area agency on aging would approach us to continue doing this work. So I would expect that that happens. This particular funding, it's a federal cycle, so it may not be until October or later. Unfortunately, we have seen that contracts that are due to expire in January, that we have been seeing those delayed. I know that one just came to me for approval that was a retroactive. I asked about it, and they said same thing. They had been waiting from ADHS to get that contract. So we are actively working with ADHS to try to remedy that.
Okay, we don't have a big online audience usually, but I hope someone from DHS is listening. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, understanding that ADHS can be quite glacial. But my question is, have you been providing these vaccines over the past year on good faith, the relationship with Area Agency on Aging, with the idea of being reimbursed? Or how have you been approaching this problem? Because it's a big one.
Supervisor Galvin, Vice Chair Brophy McGee, yes, we have a supply of vaccines and funding that we're able to use and reimburse when this funding comes in. And so it's the longstanding relationship we have with the area on aging that we continue to provide these services.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. The challenge for me was always learning how exactly to say it. Area Agency on Aging. So thank you. They are an exceptional organization, excellent to work with, and I hope ADHS steps it up.
Thank you, Ms. Flanagan. Okay, the board will now consider items 72 through 76. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 72 through 76 as listed on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Gardo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on. Industrial Development Authority, items 77 and 78. adopt resolutions approving the issuance of bonds for Lindenwood Education System, Banner Health. Madam Clerk, any speakers on these two items?
Chairman, I do have one speaker form from Lori Baroni. She wishes to speak on item number 78.
Thank you. Ms. Baroni.
Hello, Board. Okay, so I'm going to read this. This is the entirety of what is stated in this agenda. Number 78, adopt a resolution approving the issuance of bonds for the benefit of Banner Health. Adopt a resolution to approve the issuance of the Industrial Development Authority of the County of Maricopa tax-exempt commercial paper revenue notes for Banner Health in a maximum principal amount not to exceed $400 million. That's the entirety of what is stated in this agenda. I'd like to know more about that and specifics, and why do we have to give Banner Health $400 million? I mean, I think that demands more than what is presented in this agenda item as far as information, and I want to know who's going to talk about it.
Ms. Baroni, thank you. County Manager Pecorsi, as I understand it, there are no taxpayer dollars involved in this transaction. Can you please help us walk through the IDA process?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is correct. And IDA's legal counsel is here, Julie McKenzie, so I asked her to come and explain their process.
Okay, and Supervisor Stewart will have a question.
Tax dollars or no, $400 million.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to understand that the Maricopa County Industrial Development Authority is a separate entity from this board. Separate. And it's
But you want to give them bond, you want to issue bonds.
It's not taxpayer dollars, though. Just
Okay, we're gonna answer these questions, and please identify yourself for the board.
My name is Julie Arvo McKenzie. I'm General Counsel to the Industrial Development Authority. It's a separate 501c3 political subdivision nonprofit corporation. It's a conduit bond issuer. The county, under the IDA statute, is required to approve the bond issuance. However, it is not county money. Conduit bond issuance works in that a borrower comes through and utilizes the federal tax code in order to have tax-exempt bonds issued. Tax-exempt bonds are a benefit to the nonprofit borrower. Everybody knows the Banner Health is a nonprofit corporation. It allows them to finance their capital projects on a tax-exempt basis so that they don't have to pay taxable interest. So it lowers their borrowing cost, and it allows them to provide their capital projects at a lower overall financing cost. In this case, instead of a bond per se, they're doing commercial paper. And the funds come from the commercial paper holders or the bond holders in cases of any bonds running through the IDA. And the money does not come from the IDA, it does not come from the county, it comes from the lenders or the bond, also known as bondholders for these issues. $400 million is, while it's a large number, Banner Health is also a large entity providing the number one of the largest employers in the county, and also providing health care to the whole community of Maricopa County, as well as the state and some other properties in other areas of the country. And they have come through and applied with the IDA to have this structure set up so that they can be a borrower of tax-exempt bonds, and they're the only ones who pay for the interest and principal back on the bonds. And Maricopa IDA just is a conduit issuer and allows this to happen for tax code purposes.
Okay, Ms. McKenzie, thank you. So if I have this correct, the Board of Supervisors doesn't have control over the IDA, but by statute, we have to vote on this.
you're considered the governing body of the IDA, in that you also created the IDA back in the 70s
Okay.
for economic
Thank you.
development.
Supervisor Stewart and then Supervisor Lesko.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, you know what? I remember when I was brand new on City Council and an IDA came through for Intel, and I asked the same questions, like, what? Because you see the word bond,
Sure.
and you think that's, tax funded, but the way it works is, and I like that you call it commercial paper, right? So it's literally an entity, Banner or Intel or whoever it might be, borrowing money from an issuer, paying interest just like anybody would when they take a loan. We just have to sign off on it because it goes through the IDA. And so that took me a little while to get, the hang of it. I remember there was a Facebook post, like, what are we doing? Why are we paying for Intel? It's a private company. And then I got a little educated and studied about IDA, about the IDA department we had in Chandler. And so I appreciate that rundown. That was very concise, and I thank you. But great question, because it makes me raise my eyebrow, too, when I see $400 million. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lesko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does the Industrial Development Authority have public hearings?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Our meetings, our monthly meetings, we just had one yesterday where we gave the approval for the bond issuance for Banner Health. And part of our job of being the issuer is to make sure that all the documents that are created by the team of professionals, including bond counsel and underwriter banks and their counsel, that the documents are substantially final. And so, yes, they do have a public hearing for all the approvals of their bond issuance.
And Mr. Chair and ma'am, is the public able to ask questions at that public meeting about specific items? Like, for instance, on this one, are they able to, and where are these meetings held?
We have a very small office. We used to use your county meeting rooms. Currently, it's very easy to join our meetings because we hold them virtually. So it's very easy for any of the public. We are posted we post our agendas on our website. It's the Industrial Development Authority of Maricopa County, and anybody can come and present. We do have, as part of our agenda, that we have public comment. And we had, at yesterday's meeting, we had 3 representatives of Banner Health at our meeting, virtual, and they were there to answer any questions that any of our board members or the public had.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, the reason I asked that is, first, I didn't know the answer till you told me. But also, I just wanted to let the public know that there's public meetings on this, and so they can ask questions. So thank you very much, and I yield back.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Just a comment. I was the chair of the House Banking and Financial Services Committee. We did a fair number. My colleague Jeff Wenninger and I did a lot of legislation related to IDAs. It is a powerful financing tool because of the interest, the tax-free components of it. It is imperative to understand the taxpayer has zero risk. Even when you have IDA deals, which the state kind of has a big one going on, that fail, the taxpayers are not on the hook, and I need to make that abundantly clear. But it's a very powerful financing tool. My experience, while dated, was that the Maricopa County IDA was one of the best run, most conservative IDAs in the state. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, the board will now consider items 77 and 78. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 77 and 78 as presented on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Stewart. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Board of Supervisors Addendum, County Attorney 79, Settlement in Maricopa County v. Rudolph Johnson Family, LLC. 80, initiate litigation regarding zoning code and environmental code violations against a Horacek property. Madam Clerk, any speakers for these 2 items?
Chairman, I do not have any speaker forms.
Okay, thank you. The board will now consider items 79 and 80. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 79 and 80 as presented.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Stewart. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we will recess as the Board of Supervisors and convene as the Improvement District Board of Directors. The board will now consider item number 81, which is minutes. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move approval of item 81 minutes.
Okay, I apologize. Supervisor Lesko has a question for item number 81, but there's a motion still on the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to know why the delay, because the minutes were from May 20th, 2024 and June 12th of 2024. Why the delay in approving minutes? And that was also my question. It was in a consent agenda, and I didn't want to pull it, but there was other minutes from way back when. So I guess I don't know why we waited so long.
County Manager.
Minutes.
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Lesko, I defer to the clerk of the board for those questions.
Madam Clerk.
Chairman Galvin, Supervisor Lesko, there have been some delay in minutes because we have only 2 staff members that work on minutes, and they try to work on minutes as fast as they can. They have informal, special exec agendas or exec minutes to work on. So that is why you are seeing some 24, and I think we are caught up with 24, and now we're going to go slow. We have a few 24 left that we're still trying to put on the agenda. So, and they do go through a review process before they get to the final for the board to approve. We want to make sure that we capture the votes correctly and make sure that these are reviewed, like I said, before they make it to the agenda for the board to approve.
Supervisor Lesko.
I think that you answered my question, and so I may have follow-up later.
Okay, thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
Just a quick follow-up. Is there a manner in which you prioritize them? Because maybe based on high public interest or controversy, or do you just get through them as you get through them?
We do sometimes prioritize, try to get the minutes that we think the public wants to see right away. But we also, just so you are aware, we publish a summary that captures the votes of the board. So that is available 24 hours after a meeting, and the video is also made available to the public after the meeting. That way they can watch the video after the meeting and look at the action summary, because the minutes are not out there right away for the public.
Okay, and perhaps if we need further discussion on addressing backlogs, we can have that at a future time.
Correct, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Supervisors. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Garrett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously. We will recess as the Improvement District Board of Directors and convene as the Flood Control District Board of Directors. Flood Control District Addendum 82, Settlement in Sunland Materials, LLC, v. Flood Control District of Maricopa County. The board will consider now item 82. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move approval of item 82 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Supervisor Stewart won that one. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We will adjourn as the Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Library District Board of Directors under Library District 83 donations and 84 minutes. The board will now consider items 83 and 84. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move approval of items 83 and 84 for the Library District Board of Directors as presented.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Supervisor Lesko. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. We will now adjourn as the Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Under Board of Supervisors 85, public comment, and then 86, Supervisor Summary of Current Events. Item 85, public comment. Madam Clerk, do you have anything to report regarding public comment email responses?
Chairman, I do not have any email comments this time, but we do have 17 requests to speak.
Okay, great, thank you. Madam Clerk, just like last time, I'm going to ask you to read 3 names for people to hear their names being called, and when you hear your name being called, please come up to speak, and the first speaker will be named, and then the second person will be on deck, and the third person will be in the hall. So, Madam Clerk, please call up the 3 names for each
Chairman,
speaker.
first 3, Diane Barker, Barbara Ratty, Don Adams.
Thank you. Ms. Barker?
Good morning, Chairman Galvin and Board of Supervisors. I'm Diane Barker. Come on down, the price is right. I'm still in District 5. And we're approaching my favorite day forever. And so you see me, I'm all decked up with, I figure I should bring a little sweetness because sometimes it does get sour. But you know, I've been coming to meetings in our government for a while, and MAG wonders, so I'm going to go over there too. They actually wondered why I wasn't there at one of their last meetings, so I figured that that's happy. I'm from Ohio. Yay, Ohio State Buckeyes. Okay, and we were taught we're supposed to work with our government in problems of democracy. I had that in elementary school, so that's why I'm here. And I was interested in getting a public records request, and so I did go back on your canvas of November the 21st, and identified for Carrie at the management, and it was at 17, and I was because I'm interested in reasonable, honest elections. And you paid time and a half to a lot of employees. Now, I'm not picking on county employees. My supervisor always says how great they are, and I personally met some of you, and I think so, but I don't see where all this line of employees that you hired to open up secret ballots was trained. And for that, I want that email that was at point 17 on the canvas.
Next up, Barbara Ratty, then Don Adams, and then Teresa Mallow.
Good morning, Ms. Ratty.
Good morning, Barbara Ratty. Once again, I would like to welcome you, Mrs. Lesko, along with the other 2 new board members. Last time I explained the corruption I witnessed at the 2020 election during the audit, along with my experience trying to help clean up voter registrations and how all that work went nowhere after getting to the correct people. I was happy at the last session when you voted no on one of the agenda items. It was exciting not to see the rubber stamping that we saw constantly during the last administration. It was good to see someone not following along with the party of the good old boys. At least that is how the people saw things being done. It was great to see the new members of the board wanting to address what was said in the open forum and try to reply to us until the chairman shut you down. But it was wonderful to see your enthusiasm and you and the others had. All of us left the meeting feeling maybe there would be better outcomes for we the people. We hope that the new board members will be listening to us and most of all following the Constitution regarding our elections. The previous board refused to get us to constitutional standards as we asked and reminded them constantly. Will you be working on bringing our elections back to constitutional standards as we the people have demanding, or will you go along and continue to violate the Constitution as the others have? We want one day, one vote, voter ID, hand count, paper ballots, no machines, no mail-in ballots, except for military, disabled, and those who cannot be at the polling station, and winners announced the next day. All of this can be done with smaller precinct polling locations. We, the people, will be there to help you get this accomplished. Don't believe your staff when they say it can't be done just because it's been done that way in the past. I know you can't answer this now, but I do hope you will think about it and help move this administration to change and give us answers to our questions. Know that we elected all of you to follow the Constitution regarding elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ratty. Madam Clerk?
Don Adams, Teresa Mallow, followed by Roger Pickrell.
Yeah. Chairman, supervisors. First thing I want to talk about is I've noticed that Justin Heap, the recorder, has had his shared services denied him that you afforded Stephen Richer. And I think, Mr. Gavin, that that's just another way for you to obfuscate your election crimes and election fraud crimes. And if you other new people are involved in that of taking away some of his recorder rights, then you're also guilty of election fraud. Then I'm going to read part of the agenda item 41 that we were denied being able to talk about. Since 2023, up until now, many of us have read to the Board of Supervisors executive orders such as EO 13848 regarding election fraud. That EO will be exposing the corruption in our federal and local government. The military is watching all of you sworn-in public servants, watching who will uphold the Constitution and protect our county and country from enemies, foreign and domestic. This item clearly says we are in a continuity of government. Is that why you are voting on an item that is using a grant? I am asking due to the moratorium Trump still has in place. 2020, it's not over yet.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Madam Clerk.
Teresa Mallow, Roger Pickrell, followed by Roger Mayap.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Mallow. This board was elected by the people to represent us, the people. Mr. Heap was also elected by the people to get our election process to be more efficient and accurate. And yet, it appears this board is doing everything it can to prevent Mr. Heap from being effective and performing the duties we elected him to do. Why would this board drastically change the shared service agreement, giving Mr. Heap less responsibilities than Mr. Richer, the former recorder? It doesn't make sense. I understand it isn't even lawful. Is this board purposely preventing us, the people, from getting what we want and what we voted for? Is Maricopa County going to continue to be the joke of the country regarding election integrity and election lawfare? I hope that's not what this board wants. We elected this board to help improve our elections, not make them worse. I respectfully request that this board follow the law and ensure Mr. Heap is provided access to information and receives the budget required to make our elections more efficient and accurate. We want you to follow the law without having to go to court to make this happen. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ms. Mallow. Madam Clerk.
Roger Pickrell, Roger Mayap, followed by Leslie Shepard.
Good morning, Chairman, Board. My name is Roger Pickrell. I'm a state committeeman out of LD 22, and I'm also a chaplain for Sacrifice Writing Club. And I just had the privilege of being invited to be the Arizona GOP chaplain. I want to bring my prayers to this county board that is coming 2025. We have a lot of work to do. We're trying to play a lot of catch up. And that's just not putting it between two buns. I want to be able to think about what we can do with what we've been talking about this morning with Mr. Heap and with our, thank you, Miss Debbie. I want to thank you for what you and Mark and all of you are actually doing to try to bring these two entities back together, because our voting is very important to us, as well to you, because obviously that got you in your chairs. And so we want to think what we can try to do as patriots, as family members, and as people of this community, how we're going to try to connect these dots. A lot of things are coming down from Washington. They're looking to review audits across the country for different things about election integrity. So my prayer for you is to be able to be open enough to accept some of the things that's coming forward, such as immigration, et cetera. So I want to just leave you with a moment of prayer. O Lord, our Heavenly Father, I come before our throne of mercy and grace right now. I want to thank you for the mission that we are moving forward with, your guidance, and that you will be able to give us your heart for all these matters, that we can bring it to our knees and lift it up to you, because you're the head of all governments. And we just want to thank you for what you're about to do in our lives. And we want to give you all the praise, thanks, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Roger Mayap, Leslie Shepherd, followed by Annette Economides.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. Did you know that the Supreme Court ruled in 1966 under Miranda versus the state of Arizona? It determined that where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no ruling or legislation which would abrogate them or do away with them. I bring this to your attention because rules have been made in this room last year that make it even more difficult that we would have our voices heard, starting with the 10-minute countdown clock that says you have that time to submit your slip. The general public is not being paid like you are in these meetings, yet we have to be expected to sit from the beginning until the end, and we are limited to 2 minutes of communication to redress our grievances. Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 2 states political power and the purpose of government. I quote, "All political power is inherent in the people, and the governments derive their power from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain the individual rights." Our First Amendment is deeply hindered in this room by the rules that have previously been set by the board that has been implemented. Our individual rights are not being protected. It all comes down to your respect for the Constitution and your oath to uphold it. Making things difficult in here reflects your oath, your word, and your disdain for the Constitution. It's not being upheld. Being the 4th largest county in the nation, you should have the sophistication to administer true redress of grievances. In closing, between now and the next meeting, please research and become educated on what true redress of grievance with government actually looks like. It's nothing what is looking like in this room. I guarantee you, you will be shocked when you study redress.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Leslie Shepherd, Annette Economides, and Roger Lindquist.
Okay. Obviously, you know, I had mentioned when I was up for the agenda item that we had 3 people that came in before 9:30. And here it is, let's see, it's 11 o'clock. And those 3 people will not be able to give their voice because of rules that were made up by people in this room. Steve and Thomas, you guys were the ones that were part of that choice to literally make it to where that we had to be here by 10 minutes after the meeting beginning and turning in a slip in which you knew that we would have to wait until the end of the meeting for 2 minutes. You've all received an email, forwarded emails from 4 different counties back in September of 2023. They may have been confusing on why I sent them, but that's why I sent them. I wanted you to actually see the other counties and the way they interacted with me and let me know the priority that the public is in their county. Theirs is that they do the prayer, they do the pledge, and then they do the public comments. We're actually only asking you to do prayer, public comments, and let the dogs go ahead of us. That's okay. We understand. We're not trying to be so rigid, but we're saying, please bump us up to the beginning of the meeting. We are not paid to be here. We have to rearrange our lives to be here because we don't make it available on the webinar to be heard here. The other counties, I actually was in my bed talking in Tucson on their webinar. That's how much they want to hear the public. Here, you're required to come by 10 minutes afterwards, and then you may not even get to speak according to how it's happened a few times. It's not a small issue. This is our voice being muted in this room. You can be a hero in this, Thomas Galvin. or you can continue showing that you're someone who disrespects the Constitution. I hope you do the right thing, and I hope the rest of you don't conform because he's the chairman. That makes him more of a servant. That doesn't make him more powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Madam Clerk?
Annette Economides, Roger Lindquist, Florence Smith.
Good morning. My name is Annette Economides. I have lived in the BOS District 3 for over 40 years. I am a precinct committeeman, a precinct captain, a state delegate, and a state committeeman. 3 years ago, there were no PCs in my precinct. Under my leadership, all the slots are now filled with 10 precinct committeemen. I would like to speak about agenda item number 39. And I know we've talked about this before. It's been quite a while since I've been here, over 6 months. And Mr. Gallardo has said more than once that he wishes that the BOS did not need to deal with precinct committeeman issues at all. And I want to make you aware, maybe you're not aware, but there is an organized entity in the Valley that can supervise this. So if you want to let go of the whole PC thing, the Maricopa County Republican Committee is well-staffed and able to deal with this. You guys are so busy, you have so many balls that you juggle, you don't need to be dealing with precinct committeemen at all. So please consider that for the future. I would love to see that change made. And I wanted to come and talk about that. And the last thing I just wanted to say is you are charged as elected officials to represent your people. So just make sure when you're making decisions, you think about who is in your BOS district and represent them, because that's what you're here to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Economides. Madam Clerk?
Roger Lindquist, Florence Smith, followed by Lamar Garza.
Thank you, Board, Mr. Chairman. This is the third time that I've had the privilege of speaking to you guys. Mark, I want to thank you for being at our LD12 meeting last night. I'm a precinct committeeman from Ahwatukee precinct at LD12, and I changed my, Leslie pretty much shared everything I was going to share as it relates to the way these meetings are run, the arbitrariness of the rules, if there is such a word, that have been made that are completely unconstitutional. So I'd encourage you guys to catch up on some of that stuff. But what I wanted to speak about had to do with some of the stuff that we won't have to deal with going forward. But this, I just want to read this for an example. Hopefully I'll get through it. But this demonstrates some of the stuff we dealt with through the last board, and I'm hoping that we get a chance to rectify that. In a quiet, unassuming county, the Board of Supervisors held the bi-weekly meetings ostensibly to engage with their constituents, but over time, citizens began noticing something unsettling. When residents raised concerns about zoning changes, budget allocations, or public safety, the board would respond with an air of condescension, subtly undermining the validity of their claims. At one meeting, a concerned citizen, Jane, brought up discrepancies in the county's financial reports. These are all just scenarios. This isn't actual names. But I've reviewed these records, and it seems like funds for the infrastructure have been redirected without public approval. The board chair smiled thinly and replied, Jane, you must be mistaken. These records are publicly available, and we've always operated transparently. Perhaps you misunderstood the numbers. The audience murmured in agreement, swayed by the board's calm dismissal. At another meeting, a group of parents voiced concerns about deteriorating conditions of the local schools. We've seen firsthand the leaky roofs, broken air conditioners, and so forth. Meeting after meeting, the citizens would bring up issues, sowing doubt among the attendees. They claimed that their concerns were based on misinformation, complaints about from a lack of understanding, or the problem simply didn't exist. Over time, people began second-guessing themselves and to each other, unsure about what was true. Behind closed doors, the board congratulated themselves by making citizens question their own perceptions and their memory. They had effectively neutralized dissent without ever appearing hostile. Public trust eroded, yet the board retained its grip on power, using gaslighting to manipulate the very people who had placed them in their faith in them. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Lindquist. Madam Clerk?
Florence Smith, Lamar Garza, followed by Tom Arnold.
In 2020, Joe Biden received the most votes in only 16.7% of the counties, less than 1 in 5 counties. I realized to have gotten the most votes, he had to have won most large counties. I decided to research the 40 largest counties. The results of that research are in my book. 39 of the 40 largest counties had Joe Biden as the winner, many by percentages in the 70s and 80s. There are several types of fraud that seem to especially target larger counties. Discussing all of them would take more than 2 minutes, so I have emailed you ways in which I feel fraud happened with large numbers of ballots. As the 3rd or 4th largest county, I feel we will continue to be a target for adding, deleting, and changing large number of votes. Greenlee County with under 10,000 could never have 35,000 votes added or taken away without everyone realizing that fraud was happening. I would propose that Maricopa County divide its election functions into multiple election divisions. The Pinal County Recorder has also said that Maricopa needs to change its election function into 5 divisions. I don't know that 5 is a magic number. It may be 2 or 3. I feel there are many fraudulent methods that target Maricopa. The safest way to stay fraud-free would be to have separate election divisions. You may think that this sounds less efficient, but I think it may make things efficient in some ways. For instance, when I was at the signature verification in November, after I completed that, I helped alphabetize tray after tray after tray with the curing. And for them to find individual ballots, it took a really long time to go through all the trays that had things. I hope you will debate the merit of this suggestion, and also I urge you to read the email that I sent so that you can see the causes for why I say that.
Ms. Smith, thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Lamar Garza, Tom Arnold, followed by Barbara Jennings.
Hear ye again. You are committing treason at this point. You have been well advised. I would like to reference item 41 again on your continuation of government, the COG. Shout out to Tarek Johnson on that one. I'd like to mention item 51 for the construction of $18 million of this new facility to hold a lot of stuff. If you're going to be getting rid of all the electronic machines, you don't need these extraordinarily huge buildings, and you're taking a whole city block. I submit that you're trying to either hide tunnels or make tunnels, and you can get into that in your mind. You were all, at this point, belligerent occupants. It is tea busting time. And because you are belligerent occupants, it is advised to all of you, and I'm going to use a quick analogy, you are either on Team Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America. I would like to also comment on item 77. Let me see what we got here. Yes, the issuance of the bonds and 78. Over $500 million that you say is not taxpayer money. Stop lying. Monies do not come off a tree. They come off of our rear ends. So cease your traveling around the truth, because it's all being recorded and you will be held accountable. And lastly, number 78. Let me see if I can catch that one. Yes, that is a quicksand because it is a 501c3 nonprofit, which applies directly to these. I would sincerely ask that, especially for the two individuals, Lesko, who was on the subcommittee on COVID, and Brophy on the House Banking and Financial, you know exactly where these monies come from. You were educated in a way that made you forget
thank you.
your obligations. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Tom Arnold, Barbara Jennings, Eric Lovelace.
Name is Tom Arnold,
Mr. Chairman, do you understand that Miranda versus Arizona and Marbury versus Madison is not optional? Both of these Supreme Court rulings state rules or laws made that abrogate our ability to be heard in this room is a direct violation or disrespect for the basic principles. Arizona Constitution Article 2, Section 1 says a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is essential to the security of individual rights and the perpetuity of free government. Mr. Galvin, do you understand that your unwillingness to make necessary changes to give the Maricopa County citizens the same opportunities as the other citizens in other counties will expose you for your disrespect for our Arizona Constitution as well as the federal Constitution? And you other board members not pushing back on the rules that limit the people's voice in this room will show you to be complicit to the people's voices being minimized. Mr. Galvin, do you understand that when you choose to silence the majority of our citizens in Maricopa because they cannot come down to the Board of Supervisors or because they are working or unable, then you are showing your disrespect for our Arizona Constitution Section 2, or Article 2, Section 1, which says a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is essential to the security of individual rights and the perpetuity of free government. Mr. Galvin, do you understand that because you are using your position to keep rules in place that are displaying contempt to our constitutional rights, any lawyer in this room will tell you not to respond, but these lawyers did not take your oath. You did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Madam Clerk.
Barbara Jennings, Eric Lovelace, followed by Marissa Hamilton. Barbara Jennings. Next up, Eric Lovelace.
Mr. Chairman, Board, I'd like to welcome the new members. A lot of you folks were replaced last election. I'm here to speak on the SSA that the former recorder and basically the former board, because a lot of you are new, signed into agreement. I pondered this while I was spending time with my nieces and my nephews. They have a wonderful word. It's called, or a question more like, it's why. Now, I'm not impugning any members or anything like that, don't want to cast shadows, but why would people that are all being replaced sign in to an agreement that would effectively nullify the county recorder's position? I'm just asking why. I'm also a fan of history. I'm second generation Arizona, and I know there's others that are much longer than me. But I've noticed ever since Helen Purcell left office, I mean, she was the longest county recorder I think I know in Arizona history, could be nationwide, I don't know. She was in office forever and did a fine job. It wasn't until we moved to voting centers in an effort to save money, we've had nothing but problems with elections. It's the reason she lost her job. It's the reason Adrian Fontes lost his job. It's the reason Stephen Richer lost his job. Because of the long lines, waiting weeks. When Helen Purcell was in charge and we did precinct voting, we had the elections, we knew the elections the next day. What happened? By consolidating more people in one position or in these centers, it fouled things up. I know Kate Brophy-McGee was here. I know Debbie Lesko was here. I'm sure you two remember Helen Purcell and how smoothly those operations went. What I'm asking is give Recorder Heap the same SSA that Stephen Richer had, or get him in here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Chairman, the last three speakers, Marissa Hamilton, Lori Baroni, Blue Crawley.
Chairman, Supervisors, my name is Marissa Hamilton, and I want to stress I am here speaking on behalf of myself. The materials I'm going to present today, I also gave to the clerk to be able to pass out to you so you could see them, because I don't know if you'll see them from here. I also want to say I agree with the sentiment that our public comment rules are egregious against the First Amendment and they should be abolished. But with that, this first slide, I spent until 5 a.m. this morning going through the previous MOUs and the SSAs to create a chart for you so you could see what the difference of powers is in the role between the recorders, between the recorder and the supervisors through each MOU and SSA. So I thought it might be better to see it on a picture rather than just all the words. Now, this isn't comprehensive, obviously. There's more roles to elections than what's on here. But what I wanted to help you to see was that when you look at what the statutes say, which is the first column, versus what all the agreements are, it gets more orange, and the orange is the Board of Supervisors role versus the recorder's role. That is not good for election integrity, and I say this as someone that has 18 years of experience running master data management processes for multi-billion-dollar companies, and also consulting with some of the biggest supply chain companies like Costco. If you go to the second slide, I added a column to show that we would be better off with a bifurcated system. This is something that hasn't been tried with any of the SSAs or the MOUs, and I would be happy to discuss that with you, but you need checks and balances within the processes. The other pieces that are in there are basically understanding why an consolidated IT department is a pre-2000 proposal that's failed in almost every company it's been tried.
Ms. Hamilton, thank you.
And then this is about the court ruling showing that what you're proceeding with is illegal. Thank you.
Clerk, thank you.
Lori Baroni, and then last speaker, Blue Crawley.
Hello. So my name is Lori Baroni. I am a precinct committee person and a state committee person through LD 13, and I would just like to make you all aware that we are still demanding one day, one vote hand count, and we are prepared to do that on a bipartisan, in a bipartisan way. I'd also like to let you know about Article 7, Section 11 of the Arizona Constitution, that it tells us that the general election date, there shall be general election of representatives in Congress and of state, county, and precinct officers on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of the first even-numbered year after the year in which Arizona is admitted to statehood and biennially thereafter. That doesn't say for a month, it doesn't say for 10 days, it doesn't say for a week, it says one day. That's what's in our Arizona Constitution. One day, one vote, hand count, that's what we are demanding. Also, for those of you who are new to the board, Ms. Lesko, Ms. Brophy-McGee, and Mr. Stewart, you weren't here last year, but in July of last year, the board was served a cease and desist for use of the voting machines. It was totally ignored and disrespected, but it was served legally, constitutionally. It was served. If you all, the three new ones, need a copy of it, I'm happy to give it to you in case your cohorts did not share it with you. But that is the truth. That is the fact, and yet they were served. So the fact that they can sit, the board can sit and just ignore cease and desist and legal documents that are given to them on a regular basis has been happening, and it should happen no longer. Mr. Galvin, I would hope that you would be a part of correcting that for us. Thank you.
Ms. Baroni, thank you. Mr. Crawley.
How y'all doing this morning? I have here a document I got from them that has the expenditures of all of the stuff, and this is the county's one. See all the zeros? That was what they did. And I love that the roads on here were McCormick, Dunlap, Peoria, 99th Avenue, Waddell, Litchfield, Bell Road. All of those didn't get funded, and it was all supposedly county funding. I did find it fascinating that they had until 2014 that the Wickenburg Connector was getting money from the county, and it stopped operating in 2006. Just a thought there. But then also, when it comes to inputting on transportation issues, as I went to speak with Mr. Liddy about, is that there's a rule with the feds that says if any governmental body is discussing transportation on action, the public has the right to input. And so far, you haven't been doing that. And also, Steve, you remember you went to that last meeting over there at the RPTA, and they agreed with $30 million for planning, rail and such. And I tried to point out to them, and you weren't there at the time, that you need to bifurcate the agencies because you can't fund any of that through the new proposition, even though over at MAG there's a document that says that this much of rail is going to be, I don't know. But this was the document that we got in the mail saying what you guys are all going to be doing. And I see all of these streets here that were going to be improved, and I look back and see how many of them, and I go, are you going to be putting the bus facilities in and doing it right? Why aren't, and at the last managers meeting, I know that it isn't for your manager to be there, it's below her, but for this last one and the one before, how come, what's his name here, Jason Matthews, how come he doesn't make the meeting, and how come you guys weren't inputting to get the roads that didn't get done and addressed and the buses on them to be forthwith addressed and done? Well, you don't even send anybody. Just a thought. See you next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes the public comment portion. And we now move to item number 86 for supervisor comments. Excuse me. Hold on. Madam Clerk, I believe those are all the names that were submitted to you.
Chairman, that is correct. I don't have any other speaker forms.
Okay, thank you,
That's
sir.
the third
Thank you.
time. Third time.
Last time when we did supervisor comments, I started from the left, so now I'm going to start on my right, and I'm going to start with the county manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And
No, Mr. Supervisor Stewart.
start here.
Yeah, and then we'll go to you. County manager and then District 1.
I get excited.
I'm sorry. Listen, I made a couple mistakes today, so I should not speak. All right, County Manager Pekorski.
Nothing today, Chairman.
There you go. The floor is yours, Supervisor Stewart.
Thanks, Jen. It's my turn. So, hey, I really appreciate the meeting. I really appreciate the public showing up and addressing their government. That's what's intended. So thank you for being here. And I'll come out afterwards and chat with you about a few of the questions that you've got. You know, I think it's exciting. You know, I want to address a couple of the issues that we've been talking about. We are having conversations with the recorder. We'll continue to do that, and we're going to move in the right direction for the right place for the community. So I can fill you in on a little bit more of that later. But I will tell you, one of the things that I'm very proud to be a part of, and I've served on this as an ex officio board member for a number of years, is that Night of Hope 7 is coming up in a couple of weeks. It'll be on February 23rd at Grace Community Church. The purpose of this organization is to raise awareness and end human trafficking in Arizona, but in the world. And so I'd encourage everyone to attend. There will be several churches that will be part of that. We'll have several entertainers, but the main focus is for us to create community and elevate our voices about stopping this atrocity. So Night of Hope number 7 is going to be in Tempe, Arizona, February 23rd at Grace Community Church. And that's all I have for today.
It sounds like a great event, Supervisor Stewart, and thank you for those great words about that great organization. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you everyone who came and spoke today and listened. I wanted to reiterate my thanks to Chaplain Donna Keffer and her prayer over the opening of this session. And I really wanted to give a shout out to the different neighborhoods and business alliances that I campaigned in, worked with so very closely during my time in the legislature and then again on the campaign trail. District 3 presents some wonderful opportunities, but some very unique challenges, particularly as related to the I-17 corridor. You go up north towards TSMC, there's amazing development and new opportunities going, but you go farther south and there's a lot more challenges within the neighborhoods. And I can't begin to tell you what an inspiration it is to me to see the neighborhood groups organize, band together, and work with their local officials to solve those problems. I have to give a special shout out to my deputy chief, Carissa Cortez. She has been out and meeting them because there are times where a county interface is required, and she is representing me well in those efforts. I cannot thank these neighborhood leaders enough for their work, which is all hinged around public safety, quality of life, safe neighborhoods, safe businesses, and economic opportunities.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Supervisor Lesko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say happy birthday to Arizona on Friday for becoming a state. I do want to address, give a little bit of an update on a subject that was brought up today. Last week, there was some public posts, public emails about the shared service agreement between the Recorder's Office and the Board of Supervisors on separation of election duties. And if anybody contacted my office, I sent out a response. So if somebody wants the response I sent out, please contact my office. But I want to give you an update. So Friday so let me back up. I have been meeting with the Recorder Heap and talking with him several times, and I asked him for a written request of what he wants. And so I got it Friday after 4 p.m., last Friday, so the 7th, after 4 p.m. It was kind of broad. And so I asked for some more specifics. I emailed him back Friday night. I'm working all the time, I tell you. And I got the response from him Monday, this last Monday, on February 10th, with a little bit more details. I forwarded that on to the assistant county manager and the elections director, because I don't know if you know, but I can only talk to one other supervisor about things that we may vote on. So that's where it's at. I think that's a good start. We got something in writing, a request, and as Mr. Stewart said, I think we're going to work something out. But, I guess we'll see. And with that, I want to highlight a couple fun things that I went to that were important in my district. First of all, I went on February 1st to the city of Glendale, and Maricopa County had invested $3 million of federal funds to put into housing for homeless veterans. And so I think that's a good investment of money, because it's very sad to see all these homeless people out on the streets, and even more sad to see homeless veterans. And so that I felt that was a good investment. I also went on February 7th, so last Friday, I went to see that new VAI resort that's over in Glendale. It's south of the football stadium. And boy, is that going to be big. I think it's going to be really exciting. It's a concert venue with hotels and beaches and water, and so I'm kind of excited for that to open up, so my husband and I can go there as long as it's affordable. I don't know how expensive. I didn't ask how much they're going to charge, so that was kind of fun. And then just yesterday, I went to the West Valley Mayor's meeting, and so all of the mayors in the West Valley go to that and learn some more stuff. So I'm keeping busy. Somebody told me when I was thinking about this job, they're like, oh, it's like kind of part-time. No, this is not a part-time job. I feel like I'm working on this a lot, but it's exciting. It's interesting. It's an interesting job, and I'm so thankful I am not in Washington, D.C. So thank you all for being here, and I yield back.
Supervisor Lesko, and we're thankful you're here. Supervisor Guerrero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Lesko. Remember when they used to tell you the legislature was a part-time job? Yeah, boy, were they mistaken, huh? Yeah, no, I mean, good public policy folks are going to spend every ounce of time doing their job, and no doubt all five of us do everything we can to service the people in our district. Mr. Chairman, real quickly, I do want to do a quick shout out. Earlier today during our meeting, I had the honors, or we had the honors of appointing a new member to our Planning and Zoning Committee for District 5, Eric Hernandez, a name that many are familiar with. Eric served in District 4 on the P&Z. Unfortunately, during the whole reproportionment redistricting, as you know, lines changed, and Eric was unfortunately had to be step off because he was moved into District 5. I already had 2 members, but I had the honors of once again saying, "Hey, Eric, your job's not done. Come on back." And so Eric will be joining once again the Planning and Zoning. So Eric, thank you so much for your service to the people of Maricopa County, particularly the West Valley. Probably the only commissioner on P&Z that has served in both District 4 and District 5. So that's special. So I know we all have great people that serve in many of our citizens committees. So a big shout out to Eric. Mr. Chairman, coming up soon, a lot going on in District 5. This is the time of the year. The weather's getting beautiful. This is where we start having all the cities and towns and all the little public events and little community festivals and so on coming up in a week or so. Levine Barbecue, which is this is like I think the 72nd or something that they've been doing it. This is almost like 10,000 people show up to this thing. It's huge. Phoenix always has a big presence. Maricopa County, once again, has a big presence. So looking forward to that particular barbecue once again out in Levine. Last weekend, we had the actual parade out in Levine. Once again, huge event. I was able to walk with our newly elected sheriff. So the sheriff and I had time to be able to chat and be part of a great parade out there. But I'm looking forward to it. This is the time of year where we get to enjoy the beautiful Arizona weather. We have spring training coming in, which is a huge economic boost all over. We have our fair share of stadiums in the West Valley, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great spring, and to all our employees, have a safe, wonderful 3-day weekend.
Supervisor Guerrero, thank you. As you can see, this board has really hit the ground running and is really passionate and cares a lot, not just the work that we're doing here because they're giving 100% to all of the issues that we have to tackle, but also doing the important constituent services work and being out and about in the community. And not only does the state of Arizona have a birthday on February 14th, but Maricopa County does as well. So happy birthday to Maricopa County too. It's a nice coincidence that I like bringing up with folks when I go around the district. And I want to thank everyone that came down here today to ask really good questions on these agenda items. And I really want to thank and congratulate staff for doing a really good job in answering those questions. And this is the whole reason why we're here. For my district, District 2, I was really proud to march in the Parada del Sol parade last week in Old Town Scottsdale. Tremendous crowd, so many people that showed up for this parade. And I was proud to march with several state representatives, including fellow Republicans Matt Gress and newly elected Karen Werner, so that was great. And we had a really good opportunity while marching to discuss various issues, including housing. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank the parade. And another thing is last week I visited an organization called Family Promise, and they have 5 locations here in the Valley. Most of them are in the East Valley in my district. And they do a tremendous job of helping and working with families who are facing a lack of housing. and this is families with kids. And it's just heartbreaking to see the stories and come face to face with people experiencing these problems in life, but it's also heartwarming and inspiring to see an organization like Family Promise work with these groups. And what they do is a very unique model. They partner with 54 churches and houses of worship. So during the day, these people receive services from this organization, but at night they go and they sleep in one of these churches or houses of worship. Absolutely incredible, very inspiring. But what we learned in the meeting is that they had not yet worked with Maricopa County. And this is what I love about the job. This is when we're able to work with people and connect with people. And my staff and I pledged to Family Promise that we would connect them with our folks here at Maricopa County in our Human Services Department and any other department where there's a need or an opportunity for cooperation, and they really appreciated that. And so you just never know, right? And so I appreciate that. And once again, I want to thank the county manager and the clerk today. I want to thank my colleagues for a great meeting, and we are adjourned. Thank you.